Hey lady, welcome to the Postpartum on Purpose podcast. If we haven't met, my name is Anne Marie and I'm wife to James and mom to 4 beautiful kids, ranging from 9 down to 1 with one on the way. My hope is to help other women experience postpartum as a time of grit, growth, and grace. This is episode 47. Hi lady, how are you? I was about to get a little bit ahead of myself. I had to check what number episode this was because I think I was going to say 48 or 49. I'm not 100% sure. But this is 47. And I just wanted to share a word of encouragement for you other moms who are approaching postpartum and last time your birth experience was less than ideal. Because as I've explained before in previous episodes, early on especially, I think episode 3, the last birth that I had with my son, who's now 21, almost 22 months, there were things that were missed with both the nursing staff and the doctor that led to less than ideal circumstances, both for myself and for the baby. Nothing long term that was a major health risk, but definitely contributed to the mental health struggles that I had postpartum. All of that said, I have wanted to do what was reasonable, but not controlling, to ensure things could be different this time, or to encourage things to be different this time. And I have done my best to be mindful of the fact that when you experience OCD, there are 3 C's that OCD seeks: comfort, certainty, and control. And to some extent, every person, right, has a propensity, a desire for these things: comfort, certainty, and control. But they are overdrive tendencies in a person who experiences OCD. So knowing myself, right? Knowing that I tend to want, to an unnecessary extent, comfort, certainty, and control. It's easy to look at this upcoming labor and think, how can I control the bleep out of this situation? And also to be frustrated and frightened, recognizing that there are so many factors that are beyond my control, like when labor will start, how it will go, and when it will end. It's just 3 examples, just 3 basic examples. And so knowing those things, I've wanted to do what was possible, but not what was obsessive or compulsive. Because with the 3 C's, certainty, control, and comfort, the 4th C of OCD, compulsions, is how we try to decrease the anxiety that we feel when we cannot be 100% certain, 100% in control, or 100% comfortable. If I don't want my behavior to be compulsive in response to the anxiety that I feel about labor upcoming, the question I've asked myself, but then also discussed with my doula and my husband, as my 2 closest sounding boards in relation to this particular issue, has been, what can I do and what do I need to let happen? So I talked to my nurse. I talked to my aunt who has several decades of nursing leadership, and I told her after the birth of my son, about 6 weeks after, I did speak to somebody both within the administration at the OB practice and then also somebody in administration at the hospital in regards to the nursing side of things about how things had gone and communicated that to them at that time. But I asked my aunt, would it potentially be helpful for me to bring this up with the current administration at the hospital at a nursing level, which has changed since my son was born? And she thought that could be a helpful thing. I started by leaving a voicemail for the nurse manager at the hospital where I'm going to give birth, and I heard nothing. So I tried again 5 days later, also nothing. My next step was to contact my old manager, because I used to work at that same hospital in the ICU, and to say, hey, who is the person I should be contacting? Because I thought, well, as best I can tell on LinkedIn, this is who I should be reaching out to. But maybe I've made a mistake. Maybe there's somebody else. Because her LinkedIn profile said interim nurse manager of such and such. But my manager confirmed, yep, the person that I thought was, in fact, the person I needed to contact. And she offered, and this was really generous and also consoling to me, because she offered to give my phone number to that nurse manager, who she said told her she had not received any phone calls from me. I said, that'd be lovely. Please give her my number. And then I heard nothing for a couple of days. James and I went to Adoration on Monday night because I had a coupon to a restaurant. We went on a last free baby date because I had a coupon to a restaurant local to us. And then afterwards, because we had free babysitting, thanks to one of our Grandma Tribe members, I said, let's go pray in adoration for a little bit. And while I was sitting there, I just had this sense of the Bible verse, and I can't tell you where exactly it is, but of course you're smart, you can Google it if you want. I had this sense of the Bible verse, I will fight for you, and you have only to keep still. Now, I had been questioning whether it would be appropriate to escalate my concern, just desire to speak to the nurse manager, but to escalate it to the next leader, which would have been the CNO, Chief Nursing Officer. And of all the funny things, she was actually one of my preceptors. She led one of my nursing rotations in nursing school many years ago. And then, and in a totally different city from where she and I both worked and now live. So I actually have known her for quite a while, not terribly closely, but through LinkedIn, and I know her email address at work. And so I had thought about contacting her. But when I sat in adoration and had this sense of this verse, I just decided I'm going to let it go. Maybe the nurse manager will call me back at some point. Maybe she won't. I don't know. But I'm not going to try to contact anybody else at this point. I'm just going to let it be. That was Monday night. Tuesday afternoon, I checked my phone, and who had I received a voicemail from? Yes. Yes, from the nurse manager at the hospital. I called her back. I got hold of her. She said that while she has been transitioning into her interim role, her voicemails have not carried over from her previous office number to the new one. She had talked to IT about it, but I got her personal extension. Our conversation was brief. It was very cordial. She offered to let both the night shift and day shift assistant manager know that I was going to be coming in, just to have that general awareness. And she also recommended that when I'm on the way to the hospital, either my husband or my doula can give them a call to ask if we can get the one room on the unit that has a water or a tub, a birthing tub, if available. But especially to ask if there's anybody on shift whose forte is unmedicated vaginal birth, can I be paired with that nurse? None of this was rocket science, but I marveled at the timing of perceiving a need to let go of control and then the conversation happening. Frankly, I would have accepted if the conversation had never happened, but I was grateful that it did. And of course, that conversation was, let's say, at 1:30 or 2. Within an hour and a half, I was at my regularly scheduled OB appointment, only to learn that I was Group B strep positive. And wouldn't you know, my desire to control reared its head again in terms of, well, do I have to do antibiotics? Well, do they do antibiotics at the birth center? Do they do antibiotics if there's home birth? What should I do? What are the percentage risks if the child has GBS because I didn't get antibiotics versus if I did? And so There's always going to be something, lady. There's always going to be something that we can be upset or frantic or anxious about. And I just chose last night, with the wise counsel of my husband, we don't do this alone often, right? I just decided X is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to move forward with that. I'm not going to seek any more input from Instagram or other friends, family, etc. I'm going to move forward with the one thing and trust that the people I have trusted to take care of me, my OB and so on, that it's okay to follow their recommendations. And I don't need to question everything all the time. I don't know what that looks like for you, lady. I don't know what level of advocacy might make sense before your own labor and birth experience. I just want to reassure you that it's okay to have a level of trust, especially if that trust is encouraged by the people you count on, whether it's your husband, a close friend, a doula, or another support person. It's okay to trust sometimes, to lean into the uncertainty and the lack of control. And one other thing, maybe it's tangential, but it's just an update I wanted to give you. I think it can be easy, especially the farther we get along in pregnancy, to just think whatever is hard today is only going to get harder before the baby comes. And that might be true, but it doesn't have to be true. And I have found that in the last couple of weeks, really, the pains that were so prevalent in my back and my hip and my knee, they have resolved, not completely, but to a much greater extent than I expected. And that has just been such a blessing, an unanticipated but welcome blessing. And the vulvar varicosities that were so painful to me several months ago, those are causing almost no issues at this time. I graduated from pelvic floor physical therapy on Monday. I won't have any more appointments till I'm 6 weeks postpartum. And the PT told me that logically, varicosities might continue to get worse over the course of a pregnancy because, right, you're heavier, the veins are getting more swollen from more blood flow, etc. But the things that I have done at her suggestion, with her advice, not on my own, but through following her counsel, they actually have made a real difference. Sometimes you and I both maybe feel discouraged because we're trying X, Y, and Z, and it just doesn't seem like anything is shifting. The needle is not moving. And sometimes we just need to give it more time. I'm not trying to be prophetic or try to hold some crystal ball about your particular situation. I just want to share with you the good news that I have found personally recently, to say that it's okay to question the belief that things will only get worse, for instance, whether that's up until birth or after birth, etc., especially if we're doing our darndest to address the issues that we are already aware of. I hope that serves you. I'll be 38 weeks in 2 days. I'm planning to do an episode next week, and then I hope to have a couple of guest episodes lined up for when the baby comes. But of course, we'll see what happens. I'll talk to you later.